Hello everybody, Realm Builder Guy here, and welcome back to the channel and to a new Crusader Kings 3 Dev Diary. Dev Diary number 50, Poetry to My Ears. Before we get into that, once again, all comments, likes, and views are much appreciated, and don't forget to check out the other content here on the channel if you are new and not yet subscribed. And if you are new and not yet subscribed, why not hit that subscribe button while you're at it? So, let's dive into today. This is March 2nd, 2021. Dev Diary number 50 here for CK3. All right, so it looks like the Poet trait is coming back, but as part of the 1.3 free patch. But they say this ain't just your CK2 Poet trait, no. This is the all-new Poet trait, rework stats, a character interaction, and, for which I am so very, very sorry, randomized poetry generation. Oh yeah, we're doing this, writing a poem. All right, so first a little detour into how poetry works. Every poem has a theme, and at present, we have 5 themes to choose from, if you are a poet, that is. One is romance, in which the poet expresses affection and desire for the subject. 2 is legacy, in which the poet muses on the nature of death and power and the subject's impact on the world. 3 is mourning, in which the poet discusses the death and lingering emotions left behind after the subject, or relative of theirs, passes away. 4 is strife, where the poet expounds on the necessity of seizing power, life, and opportunity when it appears, and on glories yet to be won. And 5th, incompetence, wherein the poet slams the subject for their weakness, incompetence, and method of eating asparagus. Okay, asparagus. All right, poet. So looks here, diplomacy per level of fame +1 and a stress loss of +10%. Once we know the theme and subject, if any, we can feed that into custom localization functions that randomize a couplet. At present, we have both intro and outro functions for each theme, as well as title generation, allowing us to generate ditties between 2 and 4 lines in length, plus title, though I hope to expand on these in future. Since these are just ordinary custom locks, they can be dropped into any event or event chain fairly easily, meaning we can auto-generate bad poetry anywhere. So here are some examples that I am not going to read because, yeah, use. So that's all well and good, but how do we actually use poems in game? So here are a few. Firstly, we have the triumphant return of the completely original tortuous poetry interaction variant. So characters who are poets and elect to torture their prisoners will frequently spend hours declaiming their very worst poetry to them. As with any use of torture interaction, this can cause a hideous amount of stress. Yeah, I mean, imagine being locked up and somebody reciting really bad poetry to you for hours. Yeah, that'd be pretty horrible torture right there. More than this, though, poets can also send poems to most characters within diplomatic range. In all instances, sending a poem costs a little prestige, but the effects available depend on the theme selected, and the themes available depend on who you're writing to. A romantic poem makes the subject like you, a poem about their legacy makes them like you and gives them a little piety, a poem about strifes makes them like you, gives them a little prestige, a poem about mourning makes them like you, so they like you, and gives you a little stress loss, unless, of course, they dislike the poem and publicly mock you for it. Some poems are quite flattering to receive and may well be accepted without question. Fantastic. Whilst others, well, less polite. So drop stress and drop in opinion. And yes, these are all usable in multiplayer. All right, so these are some. What does this one say? Pangs of sorrow, no matter how many days twist and past, winds whisper coldly through the grass. When one so great falls so far, are fate's cruel whims not simply bizarre? All right, I think the only bizarre thing there is the poem. To round off this development diary, here's a sneak peek of some of the upcoming fixes and changes for 1.3. All right, so balance. Men-at-arms, special troops, and mercenaries now have travel time and, like levies, have a penalty to disband re-raise during wars. Interesting. Travel time is based on the distance to the realm capital. This should effectively stop being able to teleport men-at-arms across the map. Yeah, I like this. Makes it a little bit harder. Okay. The renown cost of acquiring dynasty legacies has been overhauled instead of a linear progression. The cost is now dynamic. It should be much easier to unlock your first few legacy perks, but significantly harder to unlock all the legacies in the game. Makes sense. All Dynasty Legacy perks have been rebalanced. Their effects should now be much more tangible and interesting. All right. The yearly event pools have been restructured and a lot of triggers loosened or removed outright. In practice, this means that you'll see more events when playing. Roughly one random event from this pool every 4 years rather than every 5 to 6 years. That's nice. It also means that some extremely rare events will now appear more frequently. I think, given that CK3 is such a roleplay and character-driven game, more events is always better. More is better when it comes to events. If they're good events, but you definitely need more of them to add flavor. The Infirm trait events have been removed from the yearly pulse to the health pulse. Okay. What this means is that all characters can now become infirm, not only rulers, and it is also much more likely for elderly characters to actually get the trait. Makes sense. I mean, I recently spoke about health and stress guide, so that add this to it is pretty good. Grandchildren and great-grandchildren should no longer wander off, following the same rules as children. Makes sense. Married characters will no longer wander off if they are in a realm where they are subservient to the other part of the marriage and their spouse is in the same court. Also makes sense. You can now disinherit people outside your diplomatic range. I like that because if I look at my current Al-Andalus save, there was somebody who was, I don't know if I could disinherit him, but he was about to inherit a title, a barony title, I believe, within my realm, or a county title, I can't remember. But I couldn't interact with him because he was with the Fatimid, so he was too far away, which I think is unrealistic given that he's going to inherit something within my realm. I should be able to interact with him. So I kind of like this. AI rulers who form an alliance in the middle of a war now wait 1 month before calling their ally to arms. I think this is great. I've had wars before where I just started the war and then they had no allies or maybe one, all of a sudden 2 or 3 popped up and I got absolutely crushed. Giving it that month makes sense. When you look at it logically, it would take a month to get all the paperwork done, so to speak, all the bureaucracy and red tape done before they really get into it, and it doesn't put you at a massive disadvantage right away. Feudalizing as a tribe no longer requires all tribal era innovations. Now you only need 70% of all civic and military innovations. That's nice. Makes it a little bit easier for a tribe to feudalize. It's very important. You will no longer get stress from parents or siblings dying of old age when they're 65 or older. Their friends or lovers, you might still get stressed though. And many more will be posted in future development diaries. I like this because if they're old, I mean, of course, you're sad, but it's not like it's a shock to the system. So I'm okay with that, I guess. I mean, I still think maybe a smaller amount of stress. Because, yeah, I'm a little unsure about this one because it would still stress you out. Now that I really think about it, this was a change that I don't think needed to happen. All right, interface changes. Hovering over the unit plate, a friendly unit now shows its full path. Great for seeing where your allies are going. Thank you. In war, thank you. Players now receive a warning when their enemy in a war forms a new alliance. Very important, because maybe you can wipe peace out before it gets to be if you know you're going to be overwhelmed. Say you're Brittany and you're in a war with Brittany, maybe not Bohemia, or Poland is in a war with the Kievan Rus, and all of a sudden the Rus bring in the HRE or something like that. I mean, it just I like that. I like that. Updated the current situation widget with a fresh new coat of paint. It's now darker. Okay. Current situation entries now only show X to close when hovered. Okay. Added a current situation item for hooks about to expire. I do like that. When a hook expires in less than 3 months, because usually it just goes, boom, your hook has expired. a warning because you just lose track of them, honestly. It's happened to me countless times. Added a message that lets the employer know their counselors leave because of marriage or title inheritance. It's important. Building a new holding will now, in the domain view, say you're building the holding type, example, castle, rather than the name of the main building, example, moat. Makes sense. Ensured scheme success and secrecy modifiers show up as a percentage in all cases. Fine. All right, we've got last little bit here. Game content. All formerly inaccessible religious clothes headgear are now accessible in the barbershop. Fantastic. You want to wear the Pope's hat and step pagan robes? Go right ahead. Added a small interaction to pardon a subject's crimes in exchange for opinion. A guardian might now get a hook on their ward should they be of a greedy, deceitful persuasion. I like this for a role-playing, and, you know, it makes sense. You're trying to manipulate the ward you have, and so you get a little bit of hook in there after a while. You can now offer concubines and consorts to other characters. Aha! Throw an opinion modifier. I mean, it's disgusting and skeevy, but it does make sense. When offering vassalization to a feudal ruler, you may now offer a more lenient contract to improve their chance of accepting. I like this. I like this. I could use this right now in Iberia. So offering vacillation and saying, hey, you know, you'll get some preferential treatment. I'm not going to take quite as much money from you, but, you know, just swear fealty to me. We'll be cool. So I like that. I like that. Added a narrative event for converting to a new faith, as well as a notification for when your liege converts to a new faith. Many more will be coming in the future. All right, so, well, that's all from me for this week, but stay tuned for next week's diary, where we'll be getting into something a little less passive-aggressive. All right, so there you have it. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the poet trait. I'll be honest, I mean, it was there in CK2. I didn't really do much with it. It's not one that I went, ooh, that's a nice little added flavor to Crusader Kings 3. There are a few other additions here at the end that I found a little more compelling. To be perfectly honest, I like the men-at-arms, special troops, and mercs now have a travel time. I do like that. I like the fact that got a few more events. I also like the fact that the alliances in the middle of a war, you have to wait a month before calling them to arms. I do like that because it just gives you that strategic advantage where you say, we're definitely going to lose this war, but right now the war score is still a little in my favor, so maybe we can wipe peace out before we get absolutely crushed. And I like the fact that hooks about to expire will now be easily viewed. So let me know your thoughts on this one. I feel like last week's, or Dev Diary 49, had a little bit more meat in there with winter coming. Very curious to see what Dev Diary number 51 is as we head towards 1.3. Anyway, until next time, I'm Realm Builder Guy, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.